After the breakup, everything felt normal on paper: work, friends, life. But at night, your mind wouldn't stop spinning. You misread texts. You assumed people didn't like you. Your body felt like a cage. That wasn't just sadness. Your brain was rewriting itself. And here's the thing. That feeling you're having right now, the anxiety, the paranoia, the weird suspicion that everyone secretly dislikes you, that's not weakness. That's your ancient survival system doing exactly what it was designed to do. You just didn't know you were watching it happen. Let me show you what's actually going on inside your head when loneliness takes over. Your brain doesn't see loneliness the way you do. You think it's just sadness, an emotion, something to sit with, but your brain treats it like a predator in the dark, like physical danger. When you experienced that breakup, when that person disappeared and suddenly you were alone again, something shifted at a neurological level. Your amygdala, the alarm system in your brain, this tiny almond-shaped structure buried deep in your skull, it activated, and it didn't shut off. Normally, the amygdala scans your world for real threats, a dark street, a raised voice, a genuine danger. But when loneliness sets in, that threat detection system gets recalibrated. It starts seeing social rejection as the same threat as a predator. Your brain literally interprets being alone as a survival emergency. So what happens? Your amygdala goes into overdrive. It stays there. It's constantly scanning, reading faces, analyzing tone of voice, looking for signs that people are rejecting you or abandoning you again. And here's the cruel part. Because your threat system is on high alert, your brain gets better at finding threats. A delayed text becomes proof someone hates you. A casual comment becomes a personal attack. A normal day becomes evidence that you don't belong. This is why you're misreading everything. This is why your friend's silence feels ominous. This is why you can't trust any social interaction anymore. Your brain isn't broken, it's just running in threat mode. And while your amygdala is screaming, another part of your brain is getting quieter. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that handles rational thinking, emotional regulation, and social reasoning, it starts to fade into the background. When threat detection is firing, your brain shuts down the logic center. Why? Because logic doesn't keep you alive when you're in danger. Instinct does, so you're left with a brain that's running on pure threat detection and has turned off your ability to think clearly about what's actually happening. You're misreading situations, you're catastrophizing, you're interpreting ambiguity as rejection. And none of it is your fault. This is biology. But here's where it gets worse. And this is the part that matters most. Your brain is also reallocating resources, the regions responsible for memory consolidation, primarily the hippocampus and your temporal lobes. They become less efficient when you're in this threat state. Your brain stops transferring information from short-term memory to long-term memory because it's too busy scanning for danger. You're not becoming absent-minded. Your brain is literally choosing threat detection over memory consolidation. It's choosing survival over learning. And because you're processing everything through threat, your cortisol levels spike. Cortisol is a stress hormone, chronic stress, chronic threat. And when cortisol floods your system over weeks or months, it causes inflammation. Systemic inflammation that damages neural pathways. Your brain is physically aging faster because of this. But that's still not the worst part. The worst part is the cycle. Your brain changes make emotional regulation harder. So you get more anxious, you're more suspicious, you withdraw. And when you withdraw, you become more isolated. So your brain stays in threat mode, which makes you more withdrawn, which deepens your isolation, which keeps your brain in threat mode. This is a self-perpetuating loop. Your brain creates the very isolation it's afraid of. This is why so many people describe loneliness as a trap, because it is, neurologically. But here's what matters. Understanding the mechanism is your first weapon. Most people don't know this is happening. They just feel anxious and paranoid and they blame themselves. They think they're broken. They internalize it. They become hostile in their own minds. And the isolation deepens. But you're not broken. Your brain is working exactly as it's supposed to. It's running an ancient program, a survival program, one that kept your ancestors alive when being alone meant being dead. But that program wasn't designed for modern solitude. It wasn't designed for a world where you can feel abandoned even while being surrounded by people online. So how do you interrupt the cycle? First, recognize when you're in threat mode. This is awareness. When you notice yourself misreading texts, when you catch yourself spinning worst-case scenarios, when you're reading hostility into neutral social interactions, pause. That's your brain in threat detection. That's not reality. That's your amygdala screaming. Second, reframe what you're experiencing, not as proof that people dislike you, but as proof that your brain is in survival mode. That's diagnostic information. That's your body telling you it needs connection, real connection, not the digital kind, not the surface level kind. Actual presence with actual people. Third, do the thing your brain is terrified of. This is the hard part, but it's the only thing that actually works. When your brain is screaming that people don't like you, that's when you need to reach out. Not to everyone, not to the person who hurt you, but to someone safe, someone real, a friend, a family member, whoever. The act of vulnerable connection, of saying, I need someone, I need to be seen, that's the reset button for your nervous system. When you have genuine connection, when someone actually sees you and receives you, your amygdala quiets. Your prefrontal cortex comes back online. Your cortisol normalizes. Your brain stops running in threat mode. And over time, the neural pathways that were damaged by stress start to heal. Resocialization literally reverses the neuronal restructuring that loneliness created. This is neuroscience. This isn't motivational. This is biology. But it requires you to do the thing that feels impossible, to reach out when you're convinced no one cares, to be vulnerable when your brain is screaming that vulnerability leads to rejection. Here's the warrior reframe. You're not being weak when you ask for connection. You're not being needy. You're recognizing a genuine biological need and taking strategic action to address it. You're reading your body's signals and responding intelligently. That's strength. That's wisdom. Every day when you feel that anxiety, when you notice the paranoia creeping in, when you catch yourself misreading texts, remember what's actually happening. Your brain is in threat mode. It's not the truth. It's a signal that you need real human presence. Not to fix you, not to save you, just to remind your nervous system that you're safe, that you belong, that you're not alone. And that reminder, that simple act of connection, is what literally rewires your brain back to normal. You're not broken. Your brain is just running an outdated program. And now you know how to reboot it.